Welcome to the Bold and Determined Podcast with your man Victor Pride. And right here on the Podcast for Winners, we're bringing you motivation and mindset for the killers and real dealers, the makers and the takers, the winners and the grinners, and goddamn, even the sinners too. Let's get started. Hello, friendly friends. Welcome to the Bold and Determined Podcast with your man, Victor Pride. This is the show where I answer your questions. So this is a user-generated show. You ask and I answer, and that is what makes up the show. If you have a question that you would like to hear answered or a topic you would like to hear covered on the Bold and Determined Podcast, here's what you do. Go to boldanddetermined.com. Find the latest article for the podcast. It will say podcast number 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Go there and click the button that says leave a comment, and leave a comment there regarding your question or topic, and I'll get to it in the next episode. Now, the Bold and Determined Podcast is not located at the airport, but apparently very close. So again, we're going to have to just deal with the airplanes flying in the background. Now, the Bold and Determined Podcast is available on several different formats, depending on what you like. We are available directly at boldanddetermined.com, where you can listen to the streaming audio on your computer or on your phone. We are on iTunes, so if you go to your podcast app on your iPhone and click and just type Bold and Determined, you're going to find our podcast there. We are on Google Play for the Android user, so if you go to Google Play, you can find just type Bold and Determined, you can find us. And we are also available on YouTube. If you're a YouTube fan, you can listen to this podcast directly on YouTube. You can find all of those direct links at boldanddetermined.com. And again, friends, this is a user-generated show. I answer your questions. So what do you say we get into it and I start answering your questions? The first question I'm going to cover today is in regarding a old esoteric ancient text called the Emerald Tablets of Thoth or Thought. We don't really know how to pronounce it, but we'll call it the Emerald Tablets of Thought. Now, before I get into that, I do have some quick notes regarding these ancient texts, and that is, we like these ancient texts because we have no answer for the past. We seem to have amnesia. As a people, we don't know where we came from. We don't have any kind of clue why we're here. We yearn for the truth of who we are and what we are. We yearn for this knowledge. At least I do. It seems as though our history has been decimated. Our libraries have been burned. Our ancient relics and ancient temples have all been burned to the ground and rebuilt. It seems as though television has replaced oral history and our own fairy tales. So instead of grandmas telling mamas, telling children our fairy tales, we just have the television now. It seems that knowledge is power, and in a world without knowledge, we are powerless. So we yearn for this knowledge. We want to know, where did we come from? Who are we? Why are we here? And you know, friends, I spent some time thinking, what if I could just spend a year or two at the Library of Alexandria? What kind of knowledge would I have about this world? We don't know. And that's why we look at these ancient texts like the Emerald Tablets of Thought, and we try to ponder on what is the reality of this world. So I want to read you a little bit of a quote from the Emerald Tablets just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Here we go. Far through strange spaces have I journeyed, into the depth of the abyss of time, until in the end all was revealed. Know ye that mystery is only mystery when it is knowledge unknown to man. When ye have plumbed the heart of all mystery, knowledge and wisdom will surely be thine. Seek ye and learn that time is the secret whereby ye may be free of this space. Long have I wisdom sought wisdom, aye, and shall seek of eternity's end. For know that ever before me receding shall move the goal I seek to attain. Even the lords of the cycles know that not yet have they reached the goal. For with all their wisdom they know that truth ever grows. Once in a past time I spoke to the dweller, asked of the mystery of time and space, asked him the question that surged in my being, saying, O Master, what is time? Then to me he spoke, the Master, Know ye, O thought, in the beginning there was void and nothingness, a timeless, spaceless nothingness, and into the nothingness came a thought, purposeful, all-pervading, and it filled the void. There existed no matter, only force, a movement, a vortex, or vibration of the purposeful thought that filled the void. And I questioned the master, saying, was this thought eternal? And answered me the dweller, saying, in the beginning there was eternal thought, and for thought to be eternal, time must exist. So into the all-pervading thought grew the law of time. Aye, time which exists through all space, floating in a smooth, rhythmic movement that is eternally in a state of fixation. Time changes not, but all things change in time. For time is the force that holds events separate, each in its own proper place. Time is not in motion, but ye move through time, as your consciousness moves from one event to another. Aye, by time yet exist, all in all, in eternal one existence. Know ye that even though in the time ye are separate, yet are still one, in all times existent. Ceased then the voice of the dweller, and departed I to ponder on time. For knew I that in these words lay wisdom, and a way to explore the mysteries of time. That's from the Emerald Tablets, my friendly friends, and that gives you an idea of these ancient texts that we have to ponder and figure out just what in the heck is the meaning of that. Because, friends, there are typically two meanings in all of these ancient texts. There is the esoteric meaning and the exoteric meaning. The exoteric meaning means you just look at the words and read them literally, and that's what it means. So many folks read the Bible this way. They read the exoteric meaning, just exactly what it says, but they see no hidden meaning underneath. The hidden meaning of all things is called the esoteric meaning. And we must learn what is the esoteric meaning, because the literal meaning does not mean much. And in these ancient texts, I find that they tend to ramble on and on and on just a little bit too much. What I read from you was just about 1/3 of one chapter, and that chapter just goes on and on and on. I find that most of these books just go on and on for I am the light, I am everything, oh. And you get a little bit frustrated because they keep saying the same thing over and over again. Perhaps there is a meaning in that I have not seen. Perhaps you understand this more than I. Perhaps you would like to leave a comment on the article here and show all of the other folks, all the other friends of B&D, what you think about these words and what you think about these ancient texts and what you think the mystery of time is and why the law of time exists. Let us know, because I'm very interested in this stuff. It's very interesting to me. I am what you call a knowledge seeker. Like Socrates once said, there is only one good, which is knowledge, and one evil, which is ignorance. So let's see if we can illuminate each other and bring forth the light. What do you say? Let's move on to the next question, my friendly friends. Leo asks, I have gotten bigger, mainly through exercise, but diet is non-existent. Everyone has noticed it, but I have more of a burly lumberjack look rather than a Greek statue. At some point, I lost weight, but I got too small, so I decided to stay big. But I also have fat on my belly and love handles. Long story short, how to stay big but look like a Greek statue. Is it as simple as having a low-carb diet? I tried that for 8 months and got smaller. Well, my friend Leo, what you have described is what we call the plight of the natural bodybuilder. As a natural bodybuilder, you can be big and bloofy, or you can be lean and skinny, and never the tween shall meet. There is a reason why things like steroids and hardcore supplements exist, because there is a limit you can do with your natural body, and you have found that limit. You can be big and burly and bloofy, or you can be small and skinny but lean. And that is what you can be. See, the problem is when you can put on weight, but when you go to diet, you're going to lose both fat and muscle unless you use some type of muscle preserving supplement. If you don't use some type of muscle preserving supplement, when you diet, your body is going to eat that muscle up with the fat. So you're going to lose your hard-earned muscle along with your fat. Unfortunately, this is a reality of the world. You've got to take something when you diet, or you are going to lose muscle. You just are. I recommend next time you diet, Leo, you get yourself a bottle of Red Growth and preserve that muscle. If you don't take something, you will lose much of your gains. And that is the plight of the natural bodybuilder. That is why it is so So unbelievably, it's not even difficult to be a natural bodybuilder. It's impossible to be a natural bodybuilder because, again, you can be big and bloofy, but when you start to diet, you're going to lose both muscle and fat. It's a problem of hormones. Your hormones have to be jacked up to hold on to that muscle, but when you are dieting, your hormones are not jacked up. Your hormones are not ramped up when you diet. Your hormones are in the gutter, in the trash. You kill your hormones when you diet. That's a reality of dieting that nobody wants to talk about. You kill your hormones. So you have to supplement your hormones. You have to keep your hormones up while your calories are down. Alternately, I simply recommend that you stop eating carbohydrates and start eating meat only. If you do this, you're going to be able to better preserve your muscle because you don't have to actually diet when you eat only meat. You can eat as much as you want and you're still going to start burning that body fat. See, when you take carbohydrates and protein, which is your standard bodybuilding diet, you must eat lower calories. You must eat lower calories to lose weight. But when you eat only meat, you don't have to take lower calories. You can have 5,000 calories a day and still burn fat. Now, you're not going to look like a real bodybuilder, but you can keep a bit of size and a bit of leanness much better than you can while eating carbohydrates. So it's a dual-edged process. On the one hand, you want to take something like red growth. On the other hand, you want to cut out your carbohydrates and eat meat and fat. And that's all you want to eat, and that's going to give you your best results. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in that plight of the natural bodybuilder forever. Next question. Stan asks, what are the benefits of drinking raw milk and raw eggs? Well, the benefit of raw milk and raw eggs is that pasteurizing or cooking the eggs or pasteurizing the milk denatures the protein. So you're getting less vital nutrients to your body. When everything is raw, you get more vital nutrients to your body. You get more vital protein and more vital fatty acids and enzymes. You get all the food that nature intended you to have before you kill it with fire. When you kill it with fire, you denature everything. So you get better quality proteins and you need less food. When you eat raw, you simply need less food because you get full, you get satisfied. And actually, when you start eating like this, you start to get happy. You start to feel good. You start to feel almost happy like a child when you sit down to a raw meal and halfway in the meal, you kind of just start kicking your legs because you feel happy. You feel good. You're getting this burst of natural energy that you can feel good eating cooked as well, but you feel a lot better eating raw. And that's the benefit of raw. You get better quality nutrients the way that Mother Nature intended you to get them. Halsey asks, what are your thoughts on astrology? Well, regarding astrology, horoscopes tend to be pretty accurate. And what I mean by that is nobody can predict your future, but people can predict your personality by knowing your date of birth. All Leos tend to act the same way. All Cancers tend to act the same way. All Geminis tend to act the same way. So regarding astrology, you can characterize a person pretty easily by their birth date. And that's just the way it is. Why is that? Who knows? But it's pretty silly to think that all the planets above us have no effect on us whatsoever. It's silly to think that, that just doesn't matter. What's up there doesn't matter. It has no effect on us. Clearly it does. Clearly the planets, the sun, the moon all have an effect on us. That's why crazy people are called lunatics after the moon, after the full moon. And that's why astrology has lasted through the ages. His next question is, what are your thoughts on the Freemasons? Would you consider becoming one? Why or why not? Well, the Freemasons are a secret organization and they don't say what their doctrine is. So why would any person in the world ever join a secret society when they have no idea what they're joining? You have absolutely no idea what the real end goal of the Freemasons are because they don't say it. They are a secret society. So you would be blindly joining something you have no idea what it means. Who would be so silly to do this? Well, it turns out a lot of people are silly to do this. In my opinion, it seems like people who don't want to make it their own way in this world, people who want to belong to something, who have a need to belong to something, even though they don't have any idea what it means at first. But they just want to belong to something. They want to be in some sort of group. They can't be on their own. So it seems like people who just want to join something without even having any idea of what really goes on. So no, I would never join one. And that's that. John asks, can you keep muscle mass you gain during a steroid cycle after you stop using them? The answer is yes and no. You can keep some size, but you're never going to look like you're on steroids if you're off steroids. The only way you're ever going to look like you're on steroids is if the steroids are in your blood. If they're out of your blood, a lot of that goes away. And it's not necessarily the size that you gain on steroids. It's the three-dimensional look you get to your muscles. Your shoulders, instead of becoming flat and two-dimensional like a naturals, they become three-dimensional and round like bowling balls. And you cannot get that without steroids in your system. So anytime you see somebody with perfectly round shoulders, there's only one way to get that. That three-dimensional look only comes from steroids, friends, or very good supplements. You cannot get it naturally. That's what they do. They give you that three-dimensional, insane look. So you might not even be heavy, but you look so three-dimensional, you look gigantic. Now, when you get off, you can keep some size, but it's not the same kind of size. It is not that three-dimensional size. It's size, you might start a cycle at 180 pounds, you might end it at 220, and then you might level off at 200 pounds. So you gain 20 pounds, but you didn't gain 20 pounds of three-dimensional muscle. You may have gained muscle, you gained size, you're bigger, but you don't have that pop that you get while you're on this stuff. That pop only comes from when you're on. When you're off, you don't have the pop. You may be bigger, you may be stronger, you may have more muscle, but that pop is not there. Alex asks, Victor, my question is this. I am generally passive about life. I have been reading your blog, going to the gym, hitting on girls, doing business, but sometimes my mind is just floating around. My libido is very low. Couldn't care less if I get laid or not. I avoid tensions, and when in social situations, I don't care for others very much. Usually, I am relaxed and not participating in a conversation. I'm too self-involved with my relaxed state. My opinions are not strong, and I cannot hold a conversation. One of my friends got in a fight today. I couldn't imagine myself doing that. I haven't punched anyone, even in my dream. But I know that this can't be normal because a man needs to be dynamic to make things happen. Also, it's very bizarre, but I'd rather stay home and jerk off than have sex. 100 times better. How do I get out of this? Well, it's not bizarre at all, my friend. What you have described is the life of a masturbator. Somebody who has trouble in social situations, somebody who doesn't want girls. Ooh, girls are icky. I'm just going to go home and jerk off. Ooh. You have described perfectly the life of a masturbator, Alex. If you want to be a man and not a masturbator, then you must stop jerking off. You must let your natural energy build up to the point that you want to get out and be like a caveman and get you a girl instead of jerking off into a napkin at home. You want a nice, soft lady to lay down on top of. And if you keep jerking off, if you keep masturbating, you're never going to experience that. You're never going to become dynamic because you're releasing all of your energy at home into your own hand. You must let this energy build up in you so that when you go out, you have an animal magnetism. When you jerk off like all the time, you're releasing your animal magnetism and you're just becoming, that's what you are. I don't care. And that's because you're jerking off. So stop doing that and you will become more dynamic. You will become more energetic. You will become more bold and determined. And that is a guarantee. Kyle C asks, I lived in Thailand for a year myself, and I found myself nodding in agreement with all of your reasons why it's not a place I would move back to. Mainly the pollution and vast cultural differences. You mentioned you've been traveling for a year and a half or so. What's been your favorite new spot that you've checked out and why? Well, I tell you, my favorite new spot is a country called Kyrgyzstan, which is a mountain country in Central Asia, north of Afghanistan and Tajikistan. We rented a Jeep there and drove all through the country, and the mountains there were just spectacular, just incredible. I've never seen mountains so gorgeous, and we must have spent 8 hours just driving up through the mountains, driving in between cities. I spent 2 months there, and in the last month I spent 1 month in the city of Bishkek, which is their capital city, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was cheap, and the thing about Kyrgyzstan is that the food is natural. Everywhere you go in that country, you see cows and goats and sheep, and they're just being herded out in natural. They're all eating naturally. You don't see any factory farms whatsoever. And because of that, you get just unbelievable quality, great meat. And even when you go to a coffee shop, you can order a steak, you can get lamb, you can get all kinds of terrific meat at a really great price. And it really tastes just unbelievable, natural and clean. When I left Kyrgyzstan, I went to Thailand and I went to a McDonald's at Thailand and ordered a meal. I couldn't take more than a few bites. It tasted like not food. I'd been so used to eating all this wonderful meat in Kyrgyzstan that when I've got this fake meal at McDonald's, it was like eating cardboard, and I had to spit it all out. I couldn't eat it anymore, and I've never had McDonald's since. But in Kyrgyzstan, in Bishkek, I was eating at this one particular coffee shop every morning. I loved it so much. I'd go to this coffee shop and I'd order the big breakfast. I think I was paying 250 soms, which is about $3.50. I'd get this huge waffle. I'd get 2 eggs, 2 beef sausages, 2 pieces of toast, and you get a tea or a coffee. And they had the most incredible butter that I've ever had, this natural whipped butter, and they give you this huge, huge bowl of butter. So I'd slather my waffle in so much butter, put some syrup on it, eat my eggs first, eat my beef sausage, eat my incredible waffle, and I drink my black tea. And a black tea just tasted so incredibly good after eating that meal. Now, I wouldn't eat that meal today, but there's no denying it was delicious. And for the price I paid, which is about $3.50, it was just incredible. And the funny thing about that is that $3.50 for a breakfast is expensive in Kyrgyzstan. It was expensive there because I was going to one of the only coffee shops that spoke English, so they jacked up the price for everything. So that was the most interesting country I went to. On the other hand, I was probably pulled over a dozen times in that country. That country is more of a police state than the United States. I did not enjoy that. I had to pay off a dozen officers via bribes just for driving. So if you go to Kyrgyzstan and you rent a car and you drive around the country, when the police try to wave you over, I recommend that you just keep driving because they will not come after you. I know because I did it a bunch of times. They will not come after you. If you do stop, you're going to have to pay them a bribe. And that's the way it is. So I recommend not stopping. He goes on to ask, also, has Miss Pride been accompanying you on your travels and back to America? Your Return of the Firestarter post is one of your all-time best, in my opinion. Yeah, she traveled with me all during that time, but not back to America. I don't like to travel alone. Loneliness will kill you, as Britney Spears noted. So I'm not big on traveling alone. But in America, no, I would not bring a lady back to America. I just wouldn't do it, because what is the point there? Narantha asks, Dear Vic, do you listen to records? What kind of records do you recommend? You know, I don't listen to music much anymore, almost never. I just don't. There's something about music today that just doesn't make you feel good. And I like to feel good. When I turn on the radio, it makes me angry. And it seems to make a lot of people angry. And the people who listen to music the most are always the most depressed people. Do you ever notice that? The people who listen to music the most are always depressed. Why is that? So I don't listen to music anymore. And that's that. I listen to podcasts. And actually, if I'm in the car driving and I want to listen to music, I listen to the classical music station. And that is that. Gerasimos asks, I moved to another city and a new handball team. After playing despite them telling me to get out, the old guys there gave me a talk about how I should give them more time to play during training because they're the ones that play the games. They said it in a really aggressive manner. However, if I did that, it wouldn't allow me to improve as a player. What do I do next? Well, do what's right. If you want to play, then play. That's that. Mike asks, Hey Vic, how do you manage endless anger? I don't really know where it comes from. I feel like I am born angry. I am not angry at particular things, but sometimes with myself. Other than that, most of the times I am angry for no reason. Being angry does not let me act clearly, focus on work and my goals. I go to the gym almost every day, but that is not enough for my anger to go away. I also feel that I fear something that I do. Not actually know what that is. Any practices for fear and anger? Number one, it's what are you putting into your body? What kind of food are you eating? And are you drinking coffee? I know that for me, on the one hand, coffee gives me great energy, to do my work. On the other hand, coffee gives you an inner anguish that leads to fear and anxiety and even anger. I know that when I drink coffee on the regular, I'll drink coffee in the morning, get my work done, and by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I tell you I am angry. I am unbelievably angry. And that is the effects of the coffee wearing off. So for me, coffee is the number one thing that makes me angry. When I have no coffee, no stimulants of any kind, just natural clean food, I am almost never angry. I am always calm and clear and cool and collected. Also, sleep. A lack of sleep will make me angry. So if I don't get enough sleep, especially for a couple days in a row, I will snap. But if I get my sleep, if I get my food, that I am always level and calm. So look at your sleep, look at your diet, look at your food. Before you try any kind of drugs, before you try any kind of psychological drugs, look at the most basic of basics, your food, your diet, your sleep. How are they? If all of that is under control and you're still angry, come back and let me know. But try all that first. Get your sleep, eat your beef. Eat all your good fats and your good meats. And don't drink any coffee. Don't take any drugs. Don't drink any alcohol. None of that stuff. All that stuff will lead you to being angry. Any kind of addiction that you have, whether it be to carbohydrates or coffee or to booze or to weed, any kind of addiction that you have will lead you to be angry. All addictions make people angry. So get rid of everything. Eat clean and green and natural and see what happens. James asks, have you used any of the penis enhancement exercises from Good Looking Loser? No, never used it. I don't have much to say about it other than he has pictures before and after, so there's that. Levi asks, what do you think about AI and the effects on low-skilled labor, high-skilled labor, and privacy freedom? AI is artificial intelligence. Listen, the more that AI comes into our lives, the less privacy we have. Everything can be tracked in artificial intelligence. It's all based on a computer. So you give away your privacy. I was at Starbucks this morning getting me an espresso for this podcast, and the people in front of me were paying with their damn phones. The more you pay with your phones, the less privacy you have. The more the less cash you use, the more technology you use. We're chipping away our privacy little by little. That's what's going on with AI. Now, when AI replaces the labor, you're going to have a lot of downtrodden people in this world because people have to be busy. If they are not busy, all you have to do is take a look in the ghettos to see what happens when people are not busy. Crime skyrockets and a lot of bad things happen. So that's what's going to happen when AI takes over more and more. We're going to have less privacy, less freedom, much more poor people in the world, much more crime. So I recommend that you limit the amount of technology that you use. You limit the amount that you support this kind of stuff, because in the future, it's not going to be like Star Trek. It's going to be more like a lot more people living in ghettos. Mike asks, I'd be interested to hear what your daily diet is. I'm going to give the carnivore diet a go and would like a rough framework to begin. All right, well, my diet is pretty simple. I'm mostly a steak eater. Let's see, yesterday for breakfast, I had a ribeye steak. For lunch, I had a ribeye steak. For dinner yesterday, I had pork ribs. For breakfast this morning, I had a sirloin steak. Now, I cook my food in butter. And I just sear the edges. I eat my steak what is called blue, which is cooked on the edges, caramelized on the edges, and very rare to almost raw on the inside. And I do like to sprinkle some blue cheese on my steaks, but not all the time. But I'll eat basically any kind of meat. Beef is my number one. But I've been eating halal goat meat that I've been getting from the Indian supermarket. Goat meat is really good. I'll eat pork ribs. I'll eat bacon every now and again. I will do scrambled eggs, but I've got a trick for scrambled eggs. I just use the egg yolks. I don't like the egg whites. I get rid of the egg whites, and I'll take 6 egg yolks, mix them in a bowl, sprinkle in a little salt, a little black pepper. I will cut up a good chunk of butter and put them in the eggs, and I'll fry those eggs on about a 6 out of 10 heat, and I'll remove the eggs when they're still a little bit runny. And these scrambled eggs are just fantastic. Just 6 egg yolks with a lot of butter, and cook them till they're runny, but not too overcooked, and just delicious. But I'll eat any kind of meat there is, but basically I'm a steak eater. Ribeye steaks, New York strips. Those are my go-to foods. I will eat fish. I had some codfish the other night. I do eat a lot of salmon and salmon roe, but my number one is going to be just beef, steak. I'm a steak eater. Alex asks, do you do any calorie counting or just eat until full? No, when you eat this way, when you eat just meat, you don't have to count calories whatsoever. You just eat until you're full, and that's that. You want to make sure to get in enough fat. Fat is what fulfills you. Fat is what makes you full. So just make sure to get enough fat, and there's no need to do any calorie counting. I have completely cut out all carbohydrates from my diet starting 2 weeks ago. Now, the only carbohydrates I had in my diet 2 weeks ago was raw goat milk, and I cut out the raw goat milk just to see what happens. So I am zero carb now for exactly 2 weeks, and I have lost a little bit of weight, which was not my goal, but I did lose a little bit of weight. But I tell you, my body feels incredible. I feel incredible. My mind feels incredible. I've never felt this good in a long, long time. So it's really working out for me. I'm going to stick with zero carb for a while and see how far I can take this, because I feel good. My body feels as though it's healing itself, and I'd hate to get rid of that. And a lot of times I wake up with a darn smile on my face. I wake up happy. So that's that. Eat until you're full, and that's that. Don't worry about anything else. DNF asks, hey, Victor, what are the best foods for boosting libido on the carnivore diet? Would you recommend having all the meat raw, or is having some cooked meat okay? Well, they say the best food for increasing your libido is going to be raw oysters. That's the food from the ages that everybody says will increase your libido. I've always had a pretty good libido, so I don't notice anything different, but many people say raw oysters are what does it. So try you some raw oysters and see what happens. Do you have to eat all the meat raw, or is having some cooked meat okay? Cooked meat is fine. Raw meat is a little bit better for you, but cooked meat is fine as well. You're going to get some really, really great benefits from eating an all cooked meat diet and cutting out all those nasty grains and vegetables that don't actually do anything for you. I eat probably 60% of my food cooked and 40% of it raw. So that's that, and I feel terrific. Joseph asks, would it be effective to build muscle and size eating the carnivore diet, even for someone who requires 5,000 calories per day to gain weight? My current diet consists of potatoes, sweet potatoes, meat, fish, and eggs. I cut out grains and feel my digestion is better. However, would only eating meat make me feel better and also get stronger and gain weight at the same time? Okay. Eating only meat would make you feel better. Eating only meat would make you get stronger, but you're not going to gain weight at the same time. You're going to lose weight when you first get on it because your body is going to start burning off the body fat. However, weight is completely irrelevant when it comes to bodybuilding. The way you look is what matters. And when you eat only meat, your body recompositions. You build more muscle and you lose fat. So even if you lose weight, you're still going to look bigger, because the less fat you have on your body, the bigger you look. Now, a lot of natural bodybuilders fall into this trap of looking big in a t-shirt and looking bloofy when that shirt comes off, looking a little bit fat when that shirt comes off. They mistake this fat with size. Of course, it's the carbohydrates that keep this size on you because it's fat. And when you get these carbohydrates out of your diet, you're going to start losing this fat. Your body's going to start recomping. You're going to look and feel better. So regarding gaining weight, who gives a goddamn how much weight you weigh? Who gives a goddamn how many pounds you are? It's the way you look and the way you feel that matters. Weight is completely irrelevant. You want to gain muscle and lose fat. The weight is irrelevant. Guillaume asks, you said in the podcast that rice will make you sick, but do you know that 2 billion people eat rice every day? Well, Guillaume, do you know that 1 billion people smoke cigarettes every day? If 1 billion people smoke cigarettes, they can't be wrong, can they? So maybe you should light up a cigarette and eat your bowl of rice. Now, of course, many more than 2 billion people eat grains and rice and all kinds of bad food. You know why? Because a lot of people in this world are poor. They are poor and they cannot afford good food. They've got to eat what they can afford. And what they can afford tends to be rice or wheat or vegetables, all these peasant foods, which is what they are. Now, I'm not knocking poor people for being peasants, but that's what they are. It's peasant food. It's food for peasants. There are so many people in the world. Not all of them can afford meat. Not all of them can eat meat. But I guarantee you, when they start making money, they stop eating rice and they start eating more meat, more fish, more seafood. Rice is a way to make you full and keep you alive. It's not a way to make you thrive. If you've ever been to those countries where they live on rice, you know that those people have the energy of the walking dead. They are not full of fire and full of energy and full of life. They are very, very sickly skinny, and they look sickly, and they walk like a damn turtle. So slow. So, yeah, 2 billion people eat rice, but you don't want to be one of those 2 billion people. You want to be some of the chosen few who understand that meat is the key to the energy and to the wealth of the world. Meat is where you get your energy. Rice is what you eat to stay alive. Meat is what you eat to thrive. Ches Quintera asks, what is your recommendation for someone who has pre-hypertension? All the info on the web says to stay away from red meat. I know you're a big advocate on red meat and animal fats. Not sure what's a good diet plan to cure hypertension. And what are your tips for someone trying to cure hypertension or diabetes? Okay, diabetes is very, very simple to cure. Diabetes is a problem of blood sugar. When you stop eating carbohydrates, you have no more problems with blood sugar. The diabetes goes away. You will only have diabetes if you eat carbohydrates. Get rid of the carbohydrates and you will not have diabetes anymore. I'm not a doctor. Yada, yada, yada. Not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. In my opinion, if you get rid of all of the carbohydrates, you will no longer have diabetes because you will no longer have spikes in your blood sugar. It is simple science. It is a simple science. Get rid of the blood sugar, get rid of the diabetes. Same for hypertension. You know, all of my problems are going away. All of my problems. I used to feel like I was having a damn heart attack after I ate a meal of carbohydrates. I feel after I ate a meat meal today, I feel nothing. I feel like I did absolutely nothing. I just feel good. I have no acid reflux. I have no pain in my heart. I have nothing. I just feel better and better and better every single day because I'm eating the natural diet for people, which is a carnivore diet. These grains and these vegetables and these fruits are not meant for us to eat. And when you eat them, you get all kinds of problems in this world. Look at all the people who have hypertension and diabetes. Look at their diet. They're eating vegetable oils and breads and things like this. And then you look at all the 95-year-old people who eat nothing but bacon and eggs and liver, and they have no problems whatsoever. You got to look at the world around you and see what the people eat and what makes them sick. And see that the fact that even though they say red meat is bad, all the people who eat nothing but red meat and their bacon and their eggs and their liver, they live to the 100 years old and longer, and they're strong as they do it. So that's that. Sunday 777 asks, Victor, how can I stop masturbating if I keep experiencing wet dreams? The wet dreams lead me to masturbate. Please help me. The reason you're having wet dreams, Sunday, is because you are obsessed in your mind with sex. And even though if you don't masturbate, if you're still masturbating in your head and having these fantasies in your head, they're going to express themselves as you sleep, and you're going to have a wet dream. It's all a matter of the mind. If you are still, even if you stop physically masturbating, you're still having these fantasies in your head, they will express themselves. You have to stop having these fantasies in your head, these are not natural things for humans to have. It's not natural to have all these pornographic fantasies. These are a product of the times and all the pornography that we can consume easily at our fingertips today. You have to stop thinking about this stuff. You have the power of your own thought. You choose what you think about and what you don't think about. If you simply stop thinking about these pornographic fantasies, you will stop having wet dreams. And that is that. Ulysses asks, do you think that love, as we are taught as it is, that warm, fuzzy feeling that makes you want a girl so bad, and in the movie she wants you too, is a total lie? The more experience I get with women, the more it seems that when I act like they're my sex slaves, the more they dig it. If I get that warm, fuzzy feeling and I tell them how much I appreciate them, it tends to backfire. They lose interest. I feel I have to manipulate them sometimes using cock and whip, as they say in my country. It seems I need to discipline myself, have feelings but not express them, or maybe I'm not obsessed with my vision enough. What do you think? Well, what you said is exactly correct. The way that we're told about love is simply inaccurate. It is wrong. It doesn't work. It's fake. It's phony. It's a lie. And in fact, it's a way to, who are we taught love by? Who are we taught by? Our mothers. Our mothers. They're the ones that say, be a good boy, be nice, do this, open the door, buy flowers, da 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 da. But none of that bullshit works. The only thing that kind of stuff does is make you her slave. You'll do anything she says when you act like that. And who appreciates their slave? Nobody. When you become her slave, you'll do anything for her, and that's when you get all these warm and fuzzy feelings, and she doesn't give a damn. When you reverse that, when you act like she's your slave, she gets all these warm, fuzzy feelings for you, and you don't give a damn. So it's always going to be one way or the other. One person is going to have the advantage, and one person is going to have the disadvantage. All relationships are like this. You can be the slave or you can be the master. Now, if you want to be the slave, all right, you're going to be the good boy that gets walked all over. When you're 40, you're going to find a nice 35-year-old used up woman to settle down with and buy her house and buy her car and give her credit cards and all this stuff. Or you can have a girl be your personal cheerleader, but you cannot, oh, I love you so much. You're my wonderful, you're my everything, because she's going to walk away. Nobody likes that. So don't do it. It's a lie. You have to be strong. Be the strong, silent type. If 10 days in a row, you have these wonderful feelings for her, tell her only one day. The other 9 days, keep it to yourself. Money Study asks, do you still believe the U.S. is like the fall of Rome? I don't feel it every day, but certainly every year it gets a little bit harder to see my country move in the wrong direction. I put the expiration date at 2060 at the latest. Yeah, it's definitely the fall of Rome. A country is the demographics. A country is the people. When you change the demographics, you change the people, you therefore change the country. So all of the wonderful qualities that a country had, you change it when you change the people. And we can see clearly what's happening right now, that the demographics of the United States are changing, therefore the people are changing. Therefore the United States as we know it is in fact dying. It is the fall of Rome. Now Rome still exists as a country, but it does not exist as the empire that it once was. And the U.S. will cease to exist as an empire, but will always exist as a country, at least for many, many hundreds of years to come. It seems like it's going to be looking more like Brazil than the United States. It's going to be, the people are going to have coffee colored skin more than they're going to have white skin. They're going to change the demographics. So it is changing. It is the fall of Rome. There's an essay called The Fate of Empires, which lays out the life cycle of all empires. And in this essay, it says that the average lifespan of an empire is 250 years. And the life cycle of an empire is broken down into 6 ages. Those ages are the age of pioneers, the age of conquest, the age of commerce, the age of affluence, the age of intellectualism, and the final age is the age of decadence. Now, friends, which age do you think we are in? It's clear to anybody who has eyes that we are in the age of extreme decadence. And all you have to do is go out and see these disgusting, pig-bodied people with green hair and earrings in their noses to understand that we are in the age of decadence. And the age of decadence is the last age of an empire. So as much as I hate to come to reality, it does appear that this is the fall of Rome and we are witnessing it in real time. Brad asks, Victor, are you going to do anything with Mike Cernovich at any time? Love your podcast that you guys did together. No, all these podcasts are going to be solo, me only, and that is that. Alex P asks, you have previously stated that you most likely will not have children. Why? And Damon also asks, do you think you'll ever start a family? All right, for a long time I didn't want to have a family, but I have come to realize the error of my ways there. You see, you would not exist in this world if your ancestors never had children. So going back tens of thousands of years, if your people didn't have children, you wouldn't be here. So you owe it to your ancestors to continue your line forward. If you don't continue your line forward, your line dies. Your line dies. This line that was kept alive for tens of thousands of years dies because of your selfish decision to not have children. So you owe it, if not to yourself, you owe it to your ancestors. You owe it to your people to have children. Now, it's very, very short-sighted to say, well, you know, in this day and age, it's not great to have children and blah, 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 blah. Listen, ages come and go. But if you kill your line, that's dead forever. If you keep your line alive, your line can stay alive forever. It's very, very short-sighted to just say, well, you know, it's not a good time to have children. Irrelevant, because there will be a future. You have no idea what's going to happen in the future. And it's very, very dumb and selfish to kill your line just because today it's not a great time to have children because of the courts and everything. So, yes, I plan to have children, to answer your question. Damon also asked, do you have any, other than your blog and podcast, do you have any other forms of income? Yes, I do, Damon. Thank you for asking. I'm not going to go into what they are, but you should always have multiple sources of income in case one dries up or one goes away. You never want to rely on just one. You can have one that is your big dog, but you always want to put some money into other things so you can continue, so you can keep on living no matter what happens. Nick G asks, what are your thoughts about the current state of blogging? Do you think that the explosion of YouTubing and podcasting has almost made blogs obsolete? Can written word compete with actual video and audio? If you first started B&D today, would it be possible to grow a large following / income if you did nothing but blog? Okay, even though blogs are less popular than they were a few years ago, blogs have not gone away. That is for sure. I still make a very comfortable living from the blog. It is a very, very great medium. People still read. Now, just because people love video and audio does not mean that there's not a place for the written word. That's just silly. People have their own preferences and people will always read. And if you don't believe me, look at the Christians, the Muslim, and the Jews. What do they worship? They worship words. There is no video or audio of Jesus or Moses or Muhammad. It's all in the written word. In the written word is the power of the ages. Video and audio will come and go, but the written word is the holy grail of all communication. What do we study from the past? What video and audio do we study from the past? Nothing. We study the written word from the past because the written word has the most power, the most lasting power. So absolutely you can start a blog today in 2018. Absolutely. Now would be the absolute perfect time because there are so few great blogs today. There's no competition. If you write a great blog today, you're going to stand out by a country mile. So today is an absolutely great day to get into blogging. It's also a great time to get into video and audio as well. But all three of those are terrific. Blogging, vlogging, and podcasting, those are the holy trinity of online business. All of those are fantastic and will gain you an income if you do things right, if you have a personality, if you tell a great story, if you treat it like a business instead of a hobby, you can make buku bucks doing it. And I suggest everybody has a website and everybody have a blog. Everybody needs to know how to write. If you don't know how to write, you don't know how to tell a story, you don't know how to speak. I suggest everybody have a blog. Even if you don't plan to monetize it or live on it, everybody should have a blog and practice this gift. The gift is the word. Word is the gift. I suggest everybody practice this gift so they don't lose it. Start your blog at badnet.com. We'll start it for you. At Badnet, when you start your blog, you get a free domain name and you get 4 free reports showing you how to make money from your blog. Those are private reports written by me, only given to the Badnet users. Again, Badnet is free for you. You just pay your hosting fees, which are very minimal, and you get yourself a blog and those 4 kick-ass reports showing you how to make money in the greatest medium in the world, which to me is the blog. Jesus asks, I've got past most of my social anxiety, but I still get anxiety when going to new places and events. Is there any way to work on this? Well, you know what? It's not out of the ordinary to get anxiety going to new places and events. That's the natural state of man. We are not designed to live in these gigantic cities. We're designed to live in small villages with a couple hundred people at most where we know everybody. It is abnormal to go somewhere and just be open and friendly with people you don't know. That's so out of the ordinary for humans. That's the weird state. It's not weird to be uncomfortable around people you don't know. That is completely normal. It is abnormal to go and gossip and spread and give information to people you don't know and just be happy with people you don't know. That is so unbelievably weird in the history of people. But there are ways to get over that. Alcohol would be one. I don't recommend alcohol though, but that's why people drink alcohol, because it is so weird to be speaking to people you don't know. It's not normal for people. That's why people have to get drunk to go talk to people. I recommend you skip the alcohol. You can take Red Monkey from redsupplements.com. Red Monkey has Phenibut in it, and Phenibut kind of makes you a motor mouth. It makes you happy to talk to people. It makes you, when you get out, you don't have to have that liquid courage via booze. You can just take you a couple Red Monkey pills, and it's really amazing how friendly and how outgoing and how much you just don't care about social anxiety when you're on Red Monkey. So that's what I recommend. But other than that, It is totally normal to feel that way when you go out into a strange new situation. Because think about it, 1,000 years ago, and you go out to a strange situation where you don't know anybody, they might kill you. So you have no idea. You have no idea what people are thinking. It's not normal to be so open and friendly with new people. But of course, we live in cities, we live in civilizations. We have to get over this. And the best way to get over this is just to get out and do it over and over and over and over and over again. The more you do it, the less anxiety you're going to feel. The less you do it, the more anxiety you're going to feel. So it's very, very simple, Jesus. Julius asks, hello, Vic. I'm 22 and teaching English in Vietnam, and I am starting to really miss America. But I know if I go back, I'll have to move back home with my parents. How do I move past this? Well, Julius, you got to ask yourself, why are you teaching English in Vietnam? What do you expect to get out of this? If there is some light, if there's some gold at the end of that rainbow, then stick it out. But if you're just teaching English to teach English, there's no honor in teaching English in Vietnam. There's nothing great about teaching English in Vietnam. So you got to ask yourself, why are you doing it? It must be a means to an end. If you're doing it just to do it and you miss America, then why would you stay? Again, there's no honor. There's no prestige in teaching English in Vietnam. You must be doing it for a reason, because you say you want to live in another country and build a business. So you must keep your focus on the gold at the end of the rainbow. And if there is no gold at the end of the rainbow, you got to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Eric asks, Vic, what do you think about the guys who use prostitutes? Well, Eric, I have never once in my life thought about guys who use prostitutes, so that's what I think is nothing. RH asks, what is your opinion about Hemingway and his works? If Hemingway were alive, do you think he would have a successful career as a writer in this day and age when people generally don't have the patience to read even blog articles? Well, first of all, just because you or somebody you know doesn't have the patience to read doesn't mean people don't read. Books are gigantic. Go to Amazon.com right now. You could look and see the books are flying off the shelves. So people still do read. Regarding Hemingway, what do I think about him and his works? The only Hemingway book I've read is The Old Man and the Sea. Is a pretty good book, but to me, it's not a classic or anything like that. Would he have a successful career today? Sure, he would, because your success does not depend on the age. It depends on you. If you are going to be a success, you will find a way to become a success, no matter what year it is, 1911 or 2011 or da-da-da-da-da. It matters not. The success is inside of you, and it's a burning desire inside of you, and you will find a way, no matter when it is. So would Hemingway be a success today? Absolutely he would. Delroy asks, hey Vic, I'm in my early 30s and I work in real estate. I'm ready to marry, have children, and live a simpler life. However, as you know, the U.S. is not a good place to raise families anymore. He goes on to say, I am considering moving to Russia. Russia is not perfect, but at least boys can be boys, girls can be girls, and the state supports Russian families. They even pay parents allowances for 18 months after they have their first child. The biggest problem with moving would be giving up my profession here. Do you think things will improve in the U.S. or should I start a new life abroad? Okay, starting with your last question, which is, do you think things will improve in the U.S. or should I start a new life abroad? The answer on both accounts is no and no. I don't think things are going to improve in the U.S., but I don't also necessarily think you should start a new life abroad. Now, this is going to be very personal to you, so you must do some long and hard thinking. But when it comes to moving to Russia and starting a family, you have to understand that you are going to get eaten alive by Russian ladies if you go there with no experience and just marry one of them. They're going to eat you alive. If you think it's hard in America, try going somewhere where you don't speak the language. You don't have any understanding of cultural background. You don't have any understanding of the ladies. And you just marry one? You get eaten alive in Russia the same way you get eaten alive in America. I hear these guys all the time saying, I want to go to Russia where I have so much in common with the ladies. Fella, if you were not born in Russia, you don't have nothing in common with Russian ladies other than finding them attractive. You don't have jack shit in common with Russian ladies. You just don't. They're from a different world, and you don't know that world, and you just jump right in. You can expect to get, effed over. But then again, you might meet just an incredible Russian lady who does want to have a family, and it might be the answer to all of your prayers. So what you should do is take a trip to Russia. You should never, never, never want to move somewhere permanently without at least spending a year there or 2 years. Because you can spend 2 weeks in a country, think, wow, this is the greatest country I've ever been to. And then 2 weeks later, when you're a month in, you're like, get me the fuck out of this country. I want to leave this country. So you got to get through that honeymoon period in a new country. You got to spend some real time there, learn the language, learn the cultures before you decide to move there, because you got to know what you're getting into. Before you jump into it, you got to know what you can expect. So I would suggest you don't start a new life there, but you do move there or spend a significant amount of time there and learn the ways of the world in Russia, because you may hate it there. You may think, you know what, America's better. Octavio asks, how can we reliably find grass-fed food around the world? Well, you know, Octavio, most places in the world sell grass-fed beef. Most places in the world sell their natural beef. It's in the United States where we have this fake soy feed, corn feed beef lots, and we're eating this unnatural beef. Most places I've been to have natural food, and the food tastes a lot better in other countries in the world. It's here in the United States that you have a real problem getting grass-fed natural food. And you can get some good grass-fed food at the grocery store. You got to kind of do a bit of homework and make sure that you're actually getting grass-fed and grass-finished instead of, they fed a little grass and, most of the time they fed it on corn or soy or whatever. You can also go directly to a rancher or to a farm and buy food directly from them, which is probably going to be your safest bet. But you can also get some pretty good, you can get wild caught food, wild caught fish at supermarkets. You can get some real good beef here and there at the supermarkets as well. But in other parts of the world, most of your food is natural and fresh and good. So there's nothing to worry about. Becoming Stronger asks, hey, since I'm building more discipline, I gained more self-confidence and strength. But people who know my weak person still belittle me and order me around, especially at work. I don't know how to react to this since I don't want to be submissive to anyone anymore. I do the tasks if they talk to me with respect, not from above. So how do I get more respect from people? And how can I become an entrepreneur if I don't have specialized knowledge? Okay, 2 different questions. How do you get more respect from people? You must stand up for yourself. You must respect yourself first. If you don't respect yourself, nobody else will ever respect you. It starts within. Your self-confidence develops from yourself. And this self-confidence you have radiates. You develop an aura of confidence when you have real self-confidence. When you don't have confidence, people will just walk all over you. And that's that. You must respect yourself and develop real confidence. If you don't, it's just fake and phony. And people can smell that. And in fact, people will test you all the time in this world. They will test your confidence. You know the best way to show people your confidence? Use these 2 words, yes and no. Do not explain yourself when answering questions. Say no or say yes. Very few people in this world have the nerve to say no or yes. They beat around the bush. They say, well, it's this and say yes or say no. This shows people confidence. Your next question, how do you become an entrepreneur if you don't have specialized knowledge? You say you work in the accounting department. Well, that is specialized knowledge. If you're an accountant, that is specialized knowledge, isn't it? You can start any kind of business with your specialized knowledge, which is accounting, or you can start any kind of business online. There are a billion ways you can start a new business today. But of course, you must have the confidence in yourself to actually do any of this. Otherwise, it's just talk. Florio asks, do you use any nootropics to date? He goes on to say, I am mostly sitting alone playing video games as a job and can get tired of playing sometimes after 8+ hours. Staying awake is one of the biggest concerns. I want to get far up away from my opposition/competitors and put more time in. How would you do that? Well, I would probably start drinking coffee. That would be my number one. You don't want to take things like modafinil every day. Those are just very, very occasionally or even never that you want to take things like that just to get a certain project done. You don't want to take that kind of stuff every day. But coffee, I would start drinking coffee, and I would also take Red Focus, which is our nootropic product from Red Supplements, it's not really a stay awake supplement, but it is a focus supplement. So it will help you focus in on the game and help you earn more. And I would even consider taking fat burners, because fat burners are basically energy pills. They're like energy pills and they give you more energy. So this is not healthy for you, but I'd probably drink a lot of coffee. I'd probably take a fat burner like Red Burner from Red Supplements, and I'd probably take Red Focus, and that would probably be my stack. And, take a couple days off, Saturday and Sunday off every week, and don't take any coffee. Don't take any supplements. Let your body relax. Don't do this forever, but do it for a time to get ahead in your field. Now, in all fields, almost everybody at the top uses some kind of performance enhancer. That's just the way it is. Very, very few people do things in this world naturally. So most of your competitors, the good ones, they're probably on things like coffee for sure. They're probably on nootropics. They're probably on some kind of fat burners or something that keep them awake and keep them focused. So I'd look into Red Focus. I'd look into Red Burner, and I start drinking coffee, and that's what I do. Sebastian asks, what do you think about drinking blood, eating other humans, and cannibalism? Well, Sebastian, I'm not a vampire. I'm not a vampire, pal, so I don't really think too much about these topics. He goes on to ask, do you believe in spirits and higher beings? Whoa, this is a big topic, Sebastian. You know, as an adult, for most of my life, I didn't believe in this stuff. I didn't believe in ghosts or spirits or higher beings. I didn't believe in any of this. I did recently read a book that changed my mind, and also spending time in Asia changed my mind, because everybody in Asia believes in ghosts. They all do. They all know that ghosts are, and I quote, trying to make some bad things for people. So they all know that ghosts are trying to make trouble for people. Ask anybody in Asia, are there ghosts? They'll say, yeah. Now, in fact, most poor people in this world believe in ghosts. Nearly all poor people in this world believe in ghosts. And the more money you make, the less you believe in these things. So you got to wonder, does believing in ghosts prevent you from gaining success? Or you must wonder, does making a lot of money kill your spiritual side? So you got to wonder about these things. All cultures of the world have stories about ghosts and demons and otherworldly entities. All cultures of the world have this. The Native Americans talked about the spirit world. You know, the Europeans talked about the elves and the fairies, and these spirit beings that children can apparently see, but as you get older, you can't see. But then you have people like Muhammad, who wrote a book called the Quran via one of these spiritual beings. If you read the Quran, you see it says very, very plainly that this book was not written by Muhammad. This was written by spiritual beings and given the information to Muhammad. So it seems as though all of our Abrahamic religious texts were given to the prophets by some kind of otherworldly beings of some sort, whether they be angels or perhaps they be demons. Whatever they were, they're clearly not written by man. If you read the Quran, I don't think anybody in the world thinks this is a book written by Muhammad. This is a book written by Muhammad as a psychic medium. It's a very interesting book. I'm not suggesting you convert to Islam, but I am suggesting you read books like the Quran, the New Testament, the Old Testament, just to get an idea of what all these crazy religious people in the world think and why they act the way that they do. It really, really makes you think where this stuff comes from. Now, there is a really, really interesting and intriguing book called The Siren Call of the Hungry Ghosts. And in this book, it's a book about three people: a lady with cancer, a hypnotist, a therapist who hypnotizes this lady, and then this third man who writes about it all, who just goes to watch this lady being hypnotized because they want to see if they can cure her of her cancer by hypnotizing her. And this man is just this lady's friend. So he goes to this session where this lady is hypnotized by this hypnotherapist. And a funny thing happens during the session. She starts speaking in a manner that is not her. She starts speaking as somebody else named Russell. So she is hypnotized, and because she is sick, she is weak, she becomes this person called Russell, who claims to be from Ireland, a couple hundred years ago. And they start talking to this man named Russell via this lady who's just sick but has become a psychic medium. And this guy Russell is telling these people all these wonderful things, and they start being real happy with this guy Russell. Like, yeah, Russell's great. And so they hypnotize this lady again and again so they can have conversations with this man Russell, who is this being inhabiting her body. And they're so happy with this guy. He's like an angel. He's like a guardian angel, telling them all these great things about the world, about them. And eventually this lady starts channeling other entities. There are other people who come and speak to her. And one lady comes in who is from Greece. So this lady is hypnotized with cancer, and she is now this Greek lady, from a couple hundred years ago, and she knows how to speak Greek, and she understands things from the past that the lady with cancer just wouldn't know. The lady wouldn't know Greek. She wouldn't know all kinds of things. So it's clear that it's a new lady. And this guy who's watching all this and talking to all these people, he falls in love with this lady. He falls in love with this spirit. And eventually this spirit who's talking to the lady with cancer, the psychic medium, she says, if you learn to meditate and think hard enough, we can communicate outside of communicating to the lady with cancer. So this guy starts to meditate and try real hard. And eventually he can communicate with this lady. And he falls in love with this lady. This ghost, he falls in love with her, and eventually he leaves his own fiance so he can spend more time talking to this damn ghost, this lady from the spirit world. And, this guy goes all the time to these hypnotist sessions to talk to all these entities. But eventually he decides he's going to go to Ireland, where this guy Russell is from, and he's going to check, the farm where he's from. He's going to check the towns where he's from. All the things this guy Russell says about where he's from, he wants to go and just verify these things, just to make sure he's telling the truth. He loves this girl. He's real happy with this guy Russell, and he wants to go see where this guy Russell is from. So he takes a plane to Ireland to check these things out, and it turns out nothing that Russell said was true. The story does not match up. He looks at all the landmarks and nothing matches up. And when he gets back to talk to this guy Russell changes the subject. He'll never answer a question directly. He'll just change the subject and change the subject. When they say, "Why'd you lie? Why'd you tell these stories?" He'll start talking about something else. He will not own up to the fact that everything he said was a lie. So eventually this idiot that's talking to them, he's like, okay, well, maybe he was just wrong. Let's keep talking to him. Let's keep doing everything they're saying, even though, my life is falling apart because I'm taking their advice. I left my fiance. My mom thinks I'm talking to demons, but let me keep talking to these people because, they make me feel so good. So he keeps talking to these people. This is years in now. He's still in love with this Greek lady that he talks to through this medium. And he thinks, you know what? I'm going to go to Greece and just see. I'm going to go. She told me she's from, this farm, which is this many kilometers from the city, from Alexandria, and da-da-da-da-da. So he goes to Greece, and again, what do you think he finds? Nothing that she said was the truth. She said she was so many kilometers from Alexandria at this certain period of time in history, but the guy finally looks at a book, and he realizes Alexandria was not even a city at the time she says she was there. And the landmarks don't match up. Nothing matches up. Everything she said was a lie. So this guy's almost starting to wise up. But again, he goes back and he has conversations with these people. Why did you lie? Why did you lie? And they don't own up to it. They never own up to it. They always change the subject and they go on a different path. And it seems like they just tell them what they want to hear, but they don't tell them the truth. That was a big thing. They would never acknowledge the truth. And as he was talking to these people, he asked them what they are. Are you ghosts? What are you? And they say, no, we're alive, just like you. They would get very angry if you told them that they were dead. They would never admit to being dead. They would always say, no, we're alive, just like you. We're alive, just like you. But eventually this guy realized that these people are dead and they have a hard time to what are called hungry ghosts, or what is called earthbound spirits, people who have died but cannot accept the fact that they are dead and refuse to move on. So they're stuck in this kind of spirit world where the only pleasure they get is from getting people to act out these kind of weird fantasies that they have. They always want them to do sexual things and do violent things and do all these kind of weird things, but it always starts out sweetly, but it ends up like a kiss from death. They always start off telling them, yeah, I'm your guardian angel. I'm helping you. But eventually they start deteriorating. Their lives start deteriorating and falling apart. And it seems like these entities want them to get into drugs and alcohol and all this kind of weird sex and stuff, because it seems like these entities, that's what the only thing they live for. They love this stuff when they're alive and they want to keep doing it when they're dead. And they are habitual liars. And eventually this man he stopped talking to these people. He finally grew some balls years after going to these hypnotherapy sessions where this lady became a psychic medium. He stopped going to them, and he developed this incredible rash or pain in his belly button. And he had to go to the doctor. He almost died from it. It was not really a rash. It was more like a skin infection or a virus of some kind on his belly button. So he had to go to the hospital, and he almost died from it. And so this lady who was the psychic medium, who was the one who was hypnotized and became these other people, she called him to say, "Hey, Russell," the guy from the other world, "Russell told me you had a problem with your belly button, and I wanted to call and see how are you." But this man had had no contact with this lady, but somehow this spirit world knew about this man's belly button problems. So that's when this man cut off all contact, and eventually this man jumped off a roof and killed himself. So the moral of the story is, do I believe in ghosts and these kind of things? Not necessarily, but you must look at history, and all people of history knew to stay away from ghosts, to stay away from these demons, or to stay away from witches and warlocks who summon these people because they always want to make some bad thing for people. That's what they told me in Vietnam. Ghosts always want to make something bad for people. They never help people. They always want to make something bad. In Vietnam, there's a lot of ghosts in Vietnam, they say, because of the war. And it seems like when people die early, when they're not ready to die, they hang around. They can't admit that they're dead. So in Vietnam in particular, a lot of ghosts in that country, what they say. I've never seen one, but that's what they say. And that's where I started to accept the fact that there might be other dimensions that we can't see with these beings that we can't see, because all through history, these beings have been written about. And specifically, these beings called the hungry ghosts, which want to live your life and take your energy and have you do these things that they can no longer do because they're dead. They refuse to admit that they're dead, but they can, if you have a weak mind, or if you're sick, like this lady was sick with cancer, or if you are big into alcohol or drugs, you open yourself up as a portal for these people. So, you ever notice that people who get drunk change their behavior? They start acting like devils, don't they? People who get high, they change their behavior. Because when you get high, you stop becoming yourself, and your mind becomes open. And then, whoop, ghosts and demons and warlocks can jump in and take over. And that's why people who are drunk or high do such crazy things. And that is why all people say it's good to be open-minded, but it's not good to be open-minded. It's good to be closed-minded. A closed-minded person is a strong person, and a closed-minded person cannot become possessed by demons. But an open-minded person will let anything jump into their head. And it starts off sweet at first, but it soon grows sour for these people. The lives start falling apart. Have you ever seen people who got into being a psychic medium or going to psychics or all this kind of thing? Their lives start deteriorating. They're all happy at first, but their lives start deteriorating. They start losing their job, their money, their family. They start getting into drugs, all these kind of things. Another thing with people who get on drugs, they could be you could know the greatest guy in the world, and he starts getting on drugs, and he just changes and changes over time. Slowly, it's like he's becoming a devil. He starts lying and stealing and doing all this devil work because he has opened up his mind to these other beings in the world. So are these things true or not? You have to look at history, and you have to look at, for example, all the Abrahamic religions like Islam and Christianity and Judaism. Their texts were all written by prophets who got the word from some otherworldly beings. And all the prophets say this. The prophets say, I didn't write this. Somebody else told me to write this. So you have to wonder, where did that come from? And you have to wonder, if it's the same people from the siren call of the hungry ghosts, were they telling lies just to create destruction and distraction in this world? Because if you look at what these religions have done in the world, you see violence, and you see oppression. You don't really see a lot of good coming from these religions, do you? You see that they appear to be good at first. You read these books and they appear like they're great and good for people. But what always follows is violence and destruction. You don't see a lot of good coming from these religions. So you have to wonder where this stuff comes from. You have to wonder if all of the cultures of the world of the past were wrong, or whether they knew something that we don't know. And I tend to think that they know a lot of stuff that we don't know about spirits and higher beings and demons as well. So that's that. Let me know what you think about that, because it's a very interesting topic. I would not have thought much about it myself until I read this book, The Siren Call of the Hungry Ghost, which is a true story. The man did actually kill himself after all this happened. And from my experiences talking to people in Thailand and Vietnam, where they all believe in ghosts and know that ghosts want to make some bad things for people. Next question is from Alex. Alex asks, what's a reasonable conversion rate for ebooks out of every 100 page visits? Well, if you're selling 1%, you're doing fantastic. Just remember that. Even a 0.5% is pretty good. If you're doing more than 1%, you are doing phenomenal. So if you could sell 1 out of every 100 visits, you're doing good. Try to get more visits. What you want to do is drive people there. Drive more people there. Get the more people you can possibly get to your sales page, the more sales you're going to get. If you get 1 out of 100, you're doing real well. He also asks, how do you track metrics? Do you use Google Analytics? Yeah, I use Google Analytics, but I'm not too big on the numbers. I don't really care about the numbers too much. I can see the money coming in or if it's not coming in. So if it's not coming in, I can see there's a problem. Then I'll go and look at it. If the money's coming in, I don't care what the number is. If I have enough money, what's the difference? So that's my philosophy. And I just do the work and everything will play out accordingly. Okay, here's a question I got from email. I read your blog every day before starting my day. I hit the gym every day, no rest days, no cheat days. Body of a Spartan has helped me a lot. The main problem is not about my fitness, it is about my parents. I want to start my own journey in life. My parents are too dominating and I have no independence. I'm just 18 and they force me to do a job. You said about moving, problem is they have my passport. They control my finances. If ever I want money, I've got to beg for my own money. Any idea how I can cope with this kind of abuse? Truth is, this blog has become my #1 mentor in life. Okay. You sound like you're clearly not American. You're living somewhere, I would assume, in the Middle East. And your culture is going to be a lot different than my culture. When I write about these things, I'm always writing from the perspective of a Westerner who has freedom at 18. You may not have freedom at 18 in your country. You might just have to endure until you are a little bit older. I have no idea what it's like if you can get your passport, if you can even make money anywhere else, because a lot of these, it can be very difficult for people of certain ethnicities in certain countries to actually make money anywhere else. So without knowing more about your situation, I can't say. I can say that in America, just walk out the door and you're good to go. You're free here. But in different parts of the world, that might be different. And I can't say. If you want to write me and give me more information, we'll see if we can help you out. But with this information, I can't say anything more than just endure and patiently wait and plot your escape. Brock Way asks, I want to thank you for your support. Since I was 16, I started reading your blog, and when I think of who influenced me most towards how I live, you are the first. I now make a living online and live on my own terms at age 19. You're a legend. He goes on to say, I have a question about building a brand. I'm just about to start my blog and was wondering, what are your thoughts on linking your domain name to Instagram, YouTube, and other social media accounts? Does this matter? I was thinking about just linking it to my own personal name because it's easier. What are your thoughts on this? Okay. Regarding Instagram and social media, it does not matter one bit when you start your blog. Too many people focus on their social media and neglect their actual work, which is the blog. At first, you should only put your focus into the blog, all of your focus into the blog. Now you can reserve your account names for your blog on social media, but plan to use it later. Do not start off using your social media because people get hooked on social media and forget to do the real work. If you're worried about social media, your work is going to suffer. The work has to come first Focus on your blog only. Now, YouTube is a different story. YouTube might be a part of your blog. So if you plan to make videos, your YouTube channel should be the same as your blog name. Not your personal name, should be the same as your blog name. Unless your blog name is your personal name. They should always match so it's easy for people to find you. You want to make it as easy as possible for people to find you in all the different methods. So use the same name for everything. But when you first start out, forget about social media. It is a waste of your time until you have a great piece of work to promote. Until you've got a great body of work, social media is a distraction. It's a waste of your time. Joe asks, what are your views and experience of alcohol and cigar smoking? Well, for cigar smoking, it's a good way to meet and network with other men. And it's a nice way to have a guy's night out. But, it's probably not real healthy for you. But you don't inhale cigar smoke. You just hold it in the mouth. And it's an expensive way to meet and network. And that's what it is. Regarding alcohol is not good for you. Plain and simple, it's not good for you. When you drink too much, you turn into a devil. We all know that. We've all seen people who get drunk and just turn into somebody completely else. So I don't drink too much. I might have a glass of wine here and there. I might have a beer here and there. I've never been one with an issue with alcohol. I can have a sip of beer and be done. A lot of people, if they even have a sip, they just got to keep drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. But I find that doesn't happen to me. I can have just a sip and be fine. But if you have a problem, if you're one of those people that can't take a sip, you got to keep going, then you should just not take that first sip. That's as simple as that. Alcohol is not good for you. And our last question is, what do you believe the meaning of life is? Ooh, that's a real deep question. What do you say we get into that on the next episode of the Bold and Determined podcast? Now, my friendly friends, every Thursday I'm bringing you the Bold and Determined podcast. You can come back next Thursday, and we're going to talk about what is the meaning of life. And you might be surprised at what my answer is. If you enjoy the Bold and Determined podcast, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to iTunes and leave a 5-star review on iTunes for the Bold and Determined podcast. If you like it, other people will like it. And the easiest way to get other people to see it is to rate it and review it. So go to iTunes, type Bold and Determined, and leave a 5-star review. And I will catch you next Thursday, my friendly friends. Victor Pride over and out. Have yourself a great day.